eclipse. First, you need glasses, not sunglasses. Make sure that you get the correct glasses for looking at the solar eclipse on April 8th, 2024. Second, you're gonna need some picture books. Of course, I have a collection of picture books that you can use in your classroom to talk to students about this amazing phenomenon that's coming up next week. Now, I have some fiction books, some nonfiction books, but all of them are great for jumpstarting that conversation about this scientific event that will be happening, and it'll be so exciting for them to see, or even if you're not in the path, then to learn about and kind of understand what's happening. So like I said, it is on April 8th, 2024, and it's called the Great North American Eclipse. Now, the last eclipse that we had was in August of 2017. I don't know the exact date, but it was around that time. So this is something that hasn't happened in quite a few years. So it'll be interesting, especially for those of you with younger students. It'll be the first time that they're experiencing this. And what happens during an eclipse is it's when the moon passes between the earth and the sun, blocking the view of the sun for the viewers on earth. Now, you can go into more scientific detail, and a lot of these books will, than I just gave you. You know I'm a book person, not really a science person. So that's why using these picture books will help your students understand what's happening. Now, let's jump into those books. And also, I'm going to keep my sunglasses on the whole time. The first book that I have to talk about the solar eclipse is A Few Beautiful Minutes by Kate Allen Fox. This is a poetic book about the solar eclipse and about being together and experiencing this with family and friends and those around you. And it's told through the eyes of a child. This book poses a question: what happens during a solar eclipse? The sun vanishes, light becomes dark, day animals sleep, and night animals wake. People stop what they're doing and they all look up. They look up together for those few beautiful minutes. And this book kind of walks you through the different stages of the solar eclipse, and it helps students understand what it is and how they can safely experience it, and how it brings us all together to enjoy this scientific moment together. The next book that I have is Total Solar Eclipse: A Stellar Friendship Story. And this one's written by Jamie Sandberg. This one students will really connect with because it's a story about friendship, but also talks about the solar eclipse at the same time. In this book, Sun is out of sorts. A solar eclipse is coming, and he's really concerned that the people on Earth might go blind watching it. What are they gonna think when his dependable light suddenly goes dark in the middle of the day when they really need it? And he's upset because Moon is betraying their friendship. He's causing this. But when totality finally arrives and Moon hides our brightest star, no one is more surprised than Sun to find that Moon helped him shine in a totally different way. Another great book to talk about the solar eclipse with your students. My glasses are slowing down. Next, we have Eclipse by Andy Rash. In the story, a boy and his dad experience the solar eclipse together in this kind of heartwarming bonding story. So after hearing that a solar eclipse is going to be happening in 2 months, this young boy makes a plan with his father to go see it. So they drive to the perfect campsite because they don't want to miss a minute of this phenomenon happening. And when the moment finally happens, they realize that being together and seeing it together makes it even more special. And this book is actually based on the author's own experience of taking his son to see the solar eclipse in August of 2017. So it's kind of neat that it was based on his own life. And he also provides quite a bit of back matter about both eclipses and their paths across the continental United States. So it gives that extra information in the back that you can share with your students. Next, we have Eclipse: How the 1919 Solar Eclipse Proved Einstein's Theory of General Relativity by Darcy Pattison. That is a very long title, and I had to read it off of my notes so that I could make sure that I got it right. So in 1915, an astronomer, Arthur Stanley Eddington, is fascinated with Einstein's new general theory of relativity. And this theory talks about how forces can push and pull objects in space. Einstein said that the sun's gravity could pull and bend light, but it seemed like a crazy idea. Could his theory be proven? So to test this out, astronomers decide to photograph a solar eclipse. And the eclipse would allow them to photograph the stars before and after the solar eclipse. If the stars' positions moved, then it was evidence that light had been bent. So with simple language, this nonfiction illustrated picture book will help students kind of understand this concept and how the push and pull of space affects light. And again, there's back matter in this book that gives more information about what they're talking about in the story, and also includes those original photos of the 1919 solar eclipse, which is pretty neat. This next book I have talks about a lot of different events that happen in nature. So the solar eclipse is one of them, but it includes a lot of other information in the book as well. This one is called When the Sky Glows by Nell Cross Beckerman. So in the book, in this nonfiction book, you'll learn about all the different things that happen in nature that make the sky glow, such as sunrises and lightning storms, rainbows, volcanoes, meteors, and even a solar eclipse. And it talks about how these awe-inspiring events seem like magic, and they're making this beautiful impact on the world that we see around us, but that there's a scientific explanation for each one. And there's some really beautiful illustrations in this book that will definitely pull your students in and want to learn more about each one of these different natural phenomenon. This next book that I have just came out. It was just released in February 2024, and it is What is a Solar Eclipse? Written by Dana Rao. This one definitely gives a lot of information on solar eclipses and how to observe them safely, what's happening during the solar eclipse and why it's happening. It talks about how long the eclipse will last, as well as information about the moon, the sun, and the earth. So a great one to give those facts to students to help them learn more about what a solar eclipse is and the effect that it has on our earth. And it's written by Sylvia Piccinatti. Again, gives lots of background information on what a solar eclipse is, how long it lasts, how we can safely observe the solar eclipse. So another great one to share with your students. And this next one is interesting. This one is called Eclipse, Our Sky's Most Dazzling Phenomenon. This one is written by Kelsey Oseo, and this one kind of dives into ancient myths as well as the facts and information about solar eclipse. And it talks about how our ancestors seek to learn more about this phenomenon and why it was happening, and how they used storytelling to kind of explain it in their own way before we had all of that scientific information about them. So for example, in Chinese legends, they believed that a solar eclipse was caused by a dragon eating the sun. Or the Norse people believed that a wolf was chasing away the moon. Not only are you getting that information about the solar eclipse in this book, but you're also getting these rich historical stories that were passed on for years and years to give some type of explanation behind what was happening. Next, we have When the Sun Goes Dark by Andrew Franknoy. This one is a pretty straightforward book that will definitely help those younger students understand and learn more about the solar eclipse. And it's a book about two young kids and their grandfather, and together they're learning about what a solar eclipse is. And throughout the story, they recreate different models of the eclipse, and they talk about safe ways to view the eclipse. And some of your students may take what they learn in this book and even bring it home and set up these models or recreate the eclipse with their families in their own living room. It uses lamps, tennis balls, hula hoops, ping pong balls to show what's happening during the solar eclipse. A really accessible book for students because told through a story with characters, but brings it closer to home, and using those examples will help students really grasp the concept a little bit better. And it's even something you could do in the classroom, this hands-on technique of showing students with these smaller objects what's actually happening in the sky during the solar eclipse. And the last book that I have is called Eclipses. And this one's written by Nick Hunter. This one provides really a lot of background information on the sun and the moon and the earth, and what's happening during both a solar and a lunar eclipse. It talks about what an eclipse is, what it looks like, how they happen, and the effects that it has on wildlife. It dives a little bit into eclipses of the past and what people thought about them before they had all of this information. And it even talks about how they are studied today, how scientists look at them today and get information from them. So with a combination of beautiful photographs and simple text, another one that is accessible even to the younger crowd. And it also gives a fun activity that students can do to deepen that understanding of a solar eclipse. So I hope that this collection of books will get you and your students ready to see the solar eclipse on April 8th. Hopefully you are along the path. If not, you and your students will have a lot of fun learning about what a solar eclipse is. A great time to really bring science to life in your classroom and show how what you're learning in the classroom happens outside in the real world, and what this amazing phenomenon is and how much students can learn from it. So let me know which one of these books you're going to read with your students in the comments down below, or if you have any other books, I'd love to add them to my list. I will leave links to all of the books in the description box of this video so that you can grab them to use them in your classroom this week or even next. If you found the video helpful, if you're going to use any of the books in your classroom, give this video a thumbs up. Hit the red subscribe button, because I'll be back next week with more book ideas and tips for reading aloud in the classroom. See you next week.